Okay. Okay, so last month when I filmed my November wrap up, I'd only read 4 books, and this time I've doubled. I've doubled up. So the first book that I read in December, which I actually started on like the 30th of November, but I didn't read very much of it, is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. And oh my god, 5 stars out of 5 stars. I loved this book. I loved the character, I loved the characters, I loved the relationship between characters. Even though the story was more character driven than like plot driven, so to speak, it was very much a character story. I was just in awe. I was in love. I've never really read a book like this before that's all about the characters with certain plot points. I was absolutely in love though. I loved this book. I can't stop talking about this book. Definitely one of my favourites that I've read this year. I absolutely adored it. It was so good. It was so good. A good start to December, even though it was not festive in the slightest. But I absolutely loved this book. And I think I read it in about a week. So could have done better with that. But oh well. I'm absolutely blinding myself with a light because it is getting so dark outside. It's been a horrible cloudy day. I am relying on this daylight to help me film, but it's horrific. So yeah, so my pupils probably look so red right now. I'm blinding myself. If I'm not looking at the lens, it's because I'm not looking at the flash. But yeah, so Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. I adored it. I loved it very much so. I'm just looking at my bookcase right now and I don't know where I'm going to put all these books because I kept them off to the side. I kept them in this little basket just to keep them all together because I knew I would do a wrap up at the end. But now I've got to try and put them onto my bookcase and I don't know how I'm going to do that. Oh god. The next book that I read after Eleanor Oliphant was The Hobbit by I keep wanting to say George R.R. Martin. J.R.R. Tolkien. I was unsure about this book, to be honest. I've never read anything by Tolkien before. This was my first time. I have this. I have The Lord of the Rings. I've had them for years. The Lord of the Rings I just got recently. I got a set of them. But The Hobbit I've actually had. I bought this in like HMV years ago. It's got like the movie cover on it with Martin Freeman. And I had never read it before. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to start my fantasy adventure. And honestly, I absolutely loved this. I really enjoyed it. I have seen the movies. I've seen the movies first. I've seen all 3. Is it 3? Yeah, I've seen all 3. I enjoyed them. So yeah, after reading the books I can see the changes that they have made, introducing characters that weren't in it, but oh well. I suppose they stretched 3 movies out of one book that's about 300 pages long. 351 pages, and they made 3 movies out of that. Now I realise the first movie was a bit dry. But anyway, they could have made 2 movies out of this, like a part 1 and part 2, but the fact they made 3, whew, no wonder they were adding unnecessary characters. Toriel. I was still sad that Feeling Keely still died though, but oh well, spoiler. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I read it in about 2 or 3 days. I just couldn't put it down. I was flying through it. I found it actually quite easy to read as well. I loved it. So after finishing The Hobbit, I decided I'm going to start on The Lord of the Rings. Now, I know that The Lord of the Rings is only about 3 books long, but I have this set that splits them up into 7. So, I mean, I could say that I just read the 1 book, but my Fellowship of the Ring is 2 books. So, 2 like quite relatively short books. I read them both in about 2 days. They're both about 250 pages long actually. So I reckon this is probably the first book. But I mean, they were 2 books, so I don't know if I should count these as reading 2 books this month. I maybe should just include them as being like 1. So yeah, but I really enjoyed these. I found this one started with just in the Shire and it ended just as Frodo got to Rivendell, and there was a lot of content in this one that is not in the movies, a few characters that I don't know, and I was a bit like, what? Some Tom, what was his name? Tom Bombadil or something? Tom Bombadil? Something weird. And I was like, yo, what? Who? Who's this? I enjoyed this one a lot better from like Rivendell onwards, ending when Sam and Frodo go off on their own. So, yeah. But I did actually really enjoy this as well. I think I stand by that I prefer The Hobbit. But I had to admit, this was a pretty good read. A bit more, not advanced I would say. I think The Hobbit was quite good, quick paced, nice detail, quite light-hearted at times. Whereas this maybe, I'm not saying a bit darker, but a bit more advanced. The detail is a lot more advanced, I will say. But yeah, so that's me. I read The Breaking of the Fellowship, part 1 and 2. The next book that I read after that was Cuckoo by Sophie Draper. Now I have a book review for this. I will link it along with all my other books that I've done reviews for in the description box below. I had a lot of trouble with this book at times. I relatively liked it. I read it in about 2 days, which I was quite impressed by. For me, this was the kind of start of me reading books like 2 days, which is, it's just very unlike me. Normally I'll sit with a book for about a week. So I must be improving. I think it was okay. The thriller aspect was there. I just had a few issues. I had a few issues with the ending. There's a few little scenes, a few little moments that I was a bit kind of like. But apart from that, it was a relatively good book. And it was set in December time, so that was very fitting for Christmas. Not really. Next Girl to Die. I did a review for this as well. I had a few issues with it about the halfway point. I started off really liking it, and then there were just a few things. And the killer at the end, I'm still not over that. This is a series, and I don't think I'm going to bother picking up the rest of them because I just didn't like it enough. I didn't like the characters enough. I didn't like the main character enough to root for her in another book. If I loved her, then yeah, I probably would have. The next mystery might be a whole lot better, but I just didn't like her enough to carry on. So yes, this is the 5th book that I read in December, and I read this in about 2 days. It was relatively a quick read, but it was very, it was easy. It was quite easy to read. I must admit, I did kind of like it a bit. I liked the kind of the setting, the small town that reminded me of Cabot Cove from Murder, She Wrote. Not a very cheerful book to read over Christmas. And speaking of Christmas books, on Christmas Eve, or the day before Christmas Eve, I started reading A Christmas Carol. This book is about 80 something pages long, and it took me 3 nights to read it. Yep, 85. This took me 3 nights to read because I started it on Christmas Eve, and I only read the first 2 chapters. Or did I just read the first chapter? I can't actually remember. No, I think I read the first 2 chapters, and then on Christmas Eve I read another 1 or another 2. I'm not sure. I think I read up till about page 60 or something like that. And then I had to finish it on Christmas Day, or well, Christmas night. I thought I better read it, so I was quite disappointed in myself. But I think I ended up going to bed quite late on Christmas Eve, and by the time I was in bed, I just didn't really feel like reading. I actually don't enjoy reading in bed that much anymore. I find now I do all my best reading through the day, or even just at night when I'm downstairs. I'll have like my headphones in, listening to some sort of like instrumental music to help me concentrate, and I'll just lose myself in a book, and then I just fly through it and the hours go by. Whereas if I'm reading in bed at night, I'm more likely to sit on my laptop, so I don't know why. I just don't read the same in bed anymore. But yeah, so I finally finished reading A Christmas Carol, and I'm quite proud about that because I bought this copy last year. It was my first time ever reading it. I knew the story well from all the different adaptions, but I'd never actually read the book. So I bought this little thin but pretty copy last year, and I only got like halfway into it because I started reading it on Christmas Eve, and then I never picked it up again, and I thought, well, I'll read it this year and maybe I'll read it again next year. So yeah, so it was quite good. I enjoyed that. So that was book number 6. Book number 7 now is I Am Watching You by Teresa Driscoll. I actually enjoyed this book. I gave this a 4 out of 5. It is a mystery following the disappearance of a young girl, and our main character is the witness, or she witnesses something on a train that she believes kind of led to her disappearance, and if she'd spoke up, maybe she could have prevented it. The mystery itself, the conclusion, I think I was a little bit underwhelmed at, but it wasn't too bad. It was definitely a surprise, but honestly it wasn't that bad, and I quite enjoyed it. I think I gave this book originally a 5 out of 5, but then I kind of thought I'd bring my rating down to maybe a 4 out of 5. The more I think about it, there were just some things that maybe didn't sit right with me, so I decided to tone it down to a 4. But it was actually a pretty good book, and I probably would read something else by Teresa Driscoll. I thought she was quite a good author, good writer. I liked it. I've just realised I've not even really spoke much about what any of these books mean. I'm just telling my opinions. Although in fairness, a few of them I did do book reviews on. I did a book review for this. I did a book review for Cuckoo and Next Girl to Die, so I will link those in the description box below. And the 8th and final book that I read in December, which means that I read double the books I read last month. Yay! Go me! Let's have a little celebratory swig. Good stuff. I just finished filming a review for this. I just finished reading the Tightest of Bits, which I still can't pronounce properly. I do apologise to anybody that I am insulting. I read this in a day. I read this in the course of like 5 or 6 hours. And I was really kind of excited, but also kind of nervous because I knew it was based on a true story. I have to admit, I was a little underwhelmed. I feel terrible saying that when it's a true story and it's such a horrific story, and concentration camps are just the most horrific thing to read about. I just didn't like the writing style. I did not like it at all. The author is a screenplay writer, so you could definitely tell that in this. Everything was very direct, very matter of fact. I felt there was no real personality to it at times, no emotion. It was a little bit disappointing. But apart from that, I'm quite glad that I read it because it was a very interesting story. It was interesting to read about. I'm pretty sure not all of it is factual. I think historians have kind of come out and said a lot of it is not factually correct, even though the author claimed that like 95% of it was. But at the end of the day, it's basically a kind of work of fiction retelling like a true story. So unless you are the person that lived it yourself, you're not going to be able to retell it properly. But yeah, that was the Tightest of Bits. And I've just finished filming a review for that. So that is why I'm wearing the same clothes in those 2 videos. Same day, different shit. But yeah, so that was my December wrap up. I have to admit that, yeah, I'm quite pleased with how much more I read this month than I did last month. I've done double, which is, for me, I think that is pretty good, considering I am normally the worst and I normally take about a week to finish a book, considering like I've been reading them with like in 2 days. I'm currently reading He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly. It's about 400 pages. I've been sitting with it for 2 days already. I'm only about 100 pages in. I'm not a massive fan of it so far, but I'm going to progress. I am the sort of person that will always try and see a book through to the end. I can't think of a time where I've read a book and got halfway into it or so far and thought, nah, stuff this, I'm not going through this anymore. I tend to, because I buy all my own books myself, I don't know, I just feel like it's a waste of money if I don't at least read it. It's an injustice to the author if I just left it sitting on my shelf. So I probably will read it. And I will see. I mean, maybe it'll pick up. Maybe something will happen that'll change my mind. The characters are okay. It's just the kind of plot itself. It's going back and forward at the minute from the past to the present. And normally I don't get confused when stuff like that happens, but I hate when characters in the present are talking about what happened in the past, and I feel like I'm not part of it because I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea what's happening. I'm being absolutely blinded by this light. I don't know how this is going to come out. I hope it looks better than what it did before, because honestly I look like, you can see the light behind me and I just look like I was sitting in darkness. So I hope you all had a happy new year and have a lovely time with family or friends or by yourself. I am hoping this January I will maybe read more than 8 books. I might read less. It's a funny time, January. I mean, I thought I wouldn't read as much as I did over December because it's such a kind of busy period with Christmas. And I was doing quite a lot, so I'm quite pleased. But I'll probably have a quiet January. I am currently job hunting for a new job. I have my driving test at the end of this month, so that is something to look forward to. If I pass, I might make a video on the experience of just learning to drive in general. So hopefully that goes off without a hitch. And yeah, and I've got also, I ordered books the other night. I was just sitting and I just bought about, I think I bought about 13 books. So that is on its way, coming soon. So I'll maybe do like a unboxing video of that when they arrive. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching and I shall see you in my next video. I'm about to go murder a chicken dinner. Can't wait. So hungry.